They thought they knew everything about Earth, until they saw what humans were really eating. High above Earth's surface, hidden beyond the limits of human detection, a sleek silver vessel floated silently. Inside, a team of alien observers, sent from a distant galaxy, studied Earth's most unpredictable species, humans. Their mission was simple: observe, analyze, and determine if Earth was worthy of interstellar contact. But nothing had prepared them for what they were about to witness. Commander Elrix, the leader of the mission, stood before a large viewing screen, his smooth gray skin shimmering under the vessel's soft blue lights. His large, reflective eyes focused on the image of a human family gathered around a table, laughing and sharing a meal. "Activate translation filters," he commanded. A soft hum filled the room as the system adjusted, translating human speech into the alien crew's language. They listened closely as the family exchanged stories, laughter, and jokes over plates of food. First observer Nyla tilted her head, confusion written across her features. They consume that? By choice? Her gaze was fixed on a dish of greasy burgers, dripping with sauces, accompanied by golden, crispy fries. To the aliens, who survived on pure energy waves, the sight was baffling. Why would an intelligent species eat substances that could harm them? Elrix narrowed his eyes. Perhaps it's a form of ritual. Observe further. They switched views to different human locations: a bustling food market, a street vendor frying dough, a lavish restaurant plating dishes so ornate they resembled art. Everywhere, food wasn't just survival, it was culture, emotion, and identity. But then something unexpected happened. On a small screen in the corner, the feed switched to a modest living room. A young girl, no older than 7, sat at a table alone, her plate nearly empty except for a single slice of bread. Her stomach growled audibly, but she tore the bread in half and placed one piece into a small bowl on the floor, where a scruffy dog wagged its tail eagerly. Nyla gasped. She's sharing her only meal? Elrix's gaze softened. Why would she do that? It defies logic. The crew watched in stunned silence as the girl smiled, gently petting the dog. We can both eat, she whispered. Nyla looked at Elrix, her voice low. They eat things that harm them, yet they still give what little they have to others. This species, they're more complex than we thought. But before Elrix could respond, a loud alarm echoed through the vessel: beep beep beep. The translation filter scrambled, repeating a human phrase over and over again: it's not about the food, it's about who you share it with. Elrix's expression darkened. Prepare for deeper analysis. We've just scratched the surface. And with that, the crew realized, this mission would change everything they thought they knew about humanity. It's not about the food, it's about who you share it with. The phrase echoed through the alien vessel like a haunting melody, its simplicity masking a profound truth. Commander Elrix stood motionless, his elongated fingers hovering over the control panel as the translated words replayed in his mind. The mission had been clear: observe Earth's inhabitants, assess their behavior, and determine whether humanity was a species worth contacting, or one to avoid. But this was different. First observer Nyla broke the silence. Commander, I believe we need to explore deeper. Their connection to food isn't just sustenance, it's emotional. Elrix's reflective eyes narrowed. Prepare the empathy module. We need to understand not just what they eat, but why. A soft hum filled the room as the empathy module activated. It was an advanced system designed to translate not just sights and sounds but emotions, capturing the unseen forces that drove behavior. The viewing screen flickered, zeroing in on the little girl they had seen earlier. She sat on the floor, her dog curled beside her, as she chewed on the last piece of bread. Despite her meager meal, her energy readings glowed with warmth, an emotion the module identified as contentment. Contentment? Nyla whispered. She has nothing, yet she radiates peace. Elrix gestured toward the screen. Let's follow her. The scene shifted to the next morning. The girl, her name, as the module revealed, was Lila, woke up early, her threadbare clothes hanging loosely on her small frame. She packed a small paper bag with what little food she had, a bruised apple and a half-eaten sandwich. With her dog trailing behind, she walked through the chilly streets, passing by bakeries overflowing with fresh bread and markets bursting with colorful produce. The empathy module flared with conflicting emotions, hunger, longing, and yet, hope. Lila approached a park bench where an older man sat hunched over, wrapped in layers of tattered clothing. His hands trembled as he tried to sip from a paper cup of lukewarm coffee. Without hesitation, Lila handed him the apple and half sandwich. Here, she said softly, you need it more than I do. The man looked up, his weathered face lined with disbelief. But, why? She smiled. Because my mom used to say, no one should eat alone. The alien crew sat in stunned silence. The empathy module registered spikes of warmth, gratitude, and a surge of an emotion the system struggled to translate, something deep, selfless, and pure. Elrix finally spoke. They starve, yet they give. They harm themselves with food, yet heal each other through sharing. This is beyond logic. Nyla's voice wavered. Their food is more than sustenance, it's connection, compassion, love. Elrix's thoughts raced. In their advanced civilization, emotions had been dulled by logic and efficiency. Energy waves sustained them, but there was no ritual, no shared experience. Watching Lila, he felt something foreign stir within, a longing, perhaps, for something they had lost. Commander, Nyla interrupted his thoughts, there's another location that might reveal more. The screen shifted to a bustling city square, where a community feast was taking place. Long tables stretched across the area, filled with people from all walks of life, rich and poor, young and old, breaking bread together. The empathy module lit up with waves of joy, unity, and acceptance. Elrix leaned closer. They find unity through this act. Even in their divisions, they come together to share. But then, the screen darkened. The feed scrambled before revealing a stark contrast, a luxurious banquet hall where the elite dined on endless courses, wasting food in abundance. Plates piled high with untouched delicacies were discarded without thought. Nyla's face twisted with discomfort. They have so much, yet they waste while others starve. Elrix's jaw tightened. This is the paradox of humanity. Generosity and greed, compassion and selfishness, all coexisting. Suddenly, a sharp alarm blared. The empathy module overloaded, unable to process the conflicting waves of emotions, love and hate, abundance and scarcity, joy and sorrow, all interwoven in the human experience. Shut it down. Elrix barked. The room fell into darkness, the hum of the ship fading into silence. After a moment, Nyla spoke softly. Commander, we came to judge them by their logic, by their advancements. But what if their value lies in their imperfections? In their contradictions? Elrix considered her words. Humanity was flawed, yes. But in their flaws, there was beauty, a resilience and depth his own kind had long forgotten. His gaze returned to the image of Lila, now curled up beside her dog, asleep under a tattered blanket. They share food not just to survive, Elrix whispered, but to connect. To heal. To show love. Nyla's eyes glistened with understanding. Perhaps that's what makes them extraordinary. Elrix took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the mission shift. We're not here to decide if they're worthy. We're here to understand why they matter. And with that realization, the crew knew, this mission would not end with a simple report. It would forever change how they saw humanity, and perhaps, themselves. You can tell a lot about someone by how they treat the hungry. The words echoed in Commander Elric's mind as he gazed at the frozen screen. Lila, still huddled beneath her tattered blanket, her fragile body curled protectively around her dog. He felt something foreign stir within him again, that strange tug the empathy module had unlocked. Was it compassion? The ship's control room remained dimly lit after the overload, a soft blue glow radiating from the core. First observer Nyla worked at the console, fingers moving swiftly, recalibrating the empathy module to prevent another emotional collapse. "Commander," she said, breaking the heavy silence, "the system's stabilizing. But, it's fragile now. These human emotions, there's too much contrast. It's like trying to map a star system filled with both light and darkness." Elrix nodded. "Their contradictions are their essence. That's what makes them unpredictable and extraordinary." Nyla hesitated before continuing. "Should we continue the observation? Or report back?" Elrix's gaze lingered on Lila. "No. We need to go deeper. They're more than data points. There's something more." The ship's scanners zoomed out, revealing the city in its entirety, a chaotic blend of towering skyscrapers and crumbling alleys. Humans bustled below, some rushing to luxury restaurants, others scavenging for scraps. The empathy module displayed swirling streams of color, each hue representing emotions: joy, greed, sorrow, hope. "Look there," Nyla pointed. The screen focused on a dilapidated soup kitchen. A long line of people, old, young, families, waited patiently outside, hands in pockets, eyes weary. Yet, inside, volunteers worked tirelessly, stirring massive pots of stew, baking bread, and handing out warm meals with gentle smiles. Even in scarcity, Nyla whispered, they create abundance, for others. The empathy module glowed warmly. The ship sensors picked up elevated levels of endorphins, oxytocin, chemicals that spiked when humans experienced connection and joy. Elrix's chest tightened. They give because it fills them, too. It's a cycle of need and fulfillment. But then, the screen shifted without command, an anomaly. The ship had locked onto something. An argument unfolded near the soup kitchen. A wealthy man in a pristine suit berated one of the volunteers, a middle-aged woman with soft eyes and worn hands. "You can't just feed anyone. Do you know how many criminals you're encouraging?" the man barked. The volunteer, undeterred, handed a bowl of soup to a frail man in line. "Hunger doesn't care about status. Neither should we." The wealthy man scoffed, tossing a bill onto the table. "This won't solve anything." The empathy module sparked erratically, waves of judgment clashing with compassion. Elrix clenched his jaw. Even among themselves, they battle over what's right. Nyla studied the readings. But look, those waiting in line, they didn't react with anger. They felt hope, Commander. That woman gave them more than food, she gave them dignity. For a moment, silence filled the ship, only broken by the soft hum of the engines. Elrix spoke, his voice low, "We've seen kindness and cruelty, compassion and greed. But there's something deeper beneath it all, a fracture in their collective heart." Nyla tilted her head. "A fracture?" "Yes," Elrix continued. "They're a species torn between survival and empathy. They've built systems that favor the few, yet their core, their essence, yearns for connection. It's as if they're constantly at war with themselves." The realization hit both of them hard. "Commander," Nyla began hesitantly, "if we revealed ourselves, do you think they'd see us as allies or threats?" Elrix didn't answer immediately. He gazed once more at Lila's sleeping form. She had nothing, yet she gave. That truth transcended logic. "I don't know," he admitted. "But I do know this, humanity's value isn't in their technology or their power. It's in moments like hers. The small, selfless acts that ripple outward, unnoticed but deeply felt. The ship sensors detected another shift. Lila had woken up. She rubbed her tired eyes and stretched, then reached into her bag. She pulled out a crumpled note, written in shaky handwriting. The empathy module translated it. Dear Lila, I know things are hard right now. But remember, the world is still beautiful when you choose to see it. Love, Mom. Nyla's throat tightened. Her mother's gone, isn't she? Elrix nodded slowly. Yes. But her words still guide Lila. Even in absence, humans leave pieces of themselves behind, through memories, love, and food. Nyla blinked away the strange moisture forming in her eyes. Commander, what do we do now? Elrix inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of the mission like never before. We observe, but not as judges. We watch as students, learning from them. The ship's engines hummed softly, its sensors recalibrated, not to measure humanity's worth, but to understand its heart. And as Lila tucked the note back into her bag, feeding the last of her bread to her loyal dog, Elrix felt something within him shift, a fracture healing, piece by piece. Even the smallest light can cast away the deepest shadows. The ship hovered silently above the sprawling city, its cloaking field shimmering as the evening sun dipped behind gray skyscrapers. Inside, Commander Elrix stood before the central screen, eyes fixed on Lila's fragile form. Her day had been much like the last, wandering alleyways, searching for scraps, feeding her loyal dog before herself. Yet something had changed within Elrix since witnessing her act of kindness. Her resilience is extraordinary, Nyla murmured, studying the emotional waveforms from the empathy module. She carries so much pain, yet still chooses kindness. Why? Elrix's metallic fingers traced patterns on the console, lost in thought. Perhaps it's hope. Or, a memory. The ship suddenly pinged, an anomaly in Lila's emotional readings. Her heart rate spiked. Fear. Focus the scanner, Elrix ordered. The screen zoomed in on Lila, who now stood in a dark alleyway, her back pressed against a crumbling brick wall. Before her loomed two towering figures, men with ragged clothes, their faces shadowed but their intentions clear. Where's the money, girl? One growled, stepping forward. I don't have any, Lila stammered, clutching her bag tighter. Her dog barked fiercely, but it was small, no real threat. The taller man sneered. You think kindness feeds you? Out here, it's survival or nothing. Elrix's hands balled into fists. The empathy module flickered erratically, translating the surge of fear, desperation, and defiance flooding Lila's mind. Commander, we shouldn't interfere, Nyla began, but Elrix silenced her with a raised hand. The screen revealed Lila, trembling but standing firm. I won't give you anything, she whispered. Not even my fear. The words hit harder than any blow. Even the thugs hesitated, momentarily thrown off by her courage. But it didn't last. One lunged forward, snatching her bag. Her dog lunged too, teeth bared, but was kicked aside, yelping in pain. Elrix's chest tightened painfully. He felt helpless. He was an observer, not a participant, but this moment tore at something deep within. Commander, we have protocols, Nyla said, her voice trembling now. Elrix's jaw clenched. Protocols don't account for this. The empathy module pulsed wildly, then did something unexpected, it synced directly with Lila's brain waves. Commander. Nyla gasped. The systems, connecting to her emotions. Before Elrix could respond, the ship's interface glowed, and Lila's memories began to unfold on the screen, vivid and raw. A warm kitchen. A woman's gentle hands kneading dough, laughter echoing as a younger Lila tried to copy her movements. Her mother's voice, soft and filled with love, food isn't just for the body, Lila. It's for the soul. Every loaf of bread, every bowl of soup, it carries pieces of us within it. The memory shifted, faster now. Her mother's illness, the hospital visits, the bills piling up. And then, the final goodbye. Elrix felt it all, the crushing grief, the loneliness that followed, and yet, the ember of hope that refused to die within her. The screen flicked back to the present, Lila now crouched on the ground, tears streaming down her face as the thugs disappeared into the night, her bag gone. Her dog limped back to her, whimpering, and she pulled it close, burying her face into its fur. Why does she keep going? Nyla whispered, her voice breaking. Elrix understood now. It wasn't just survival that drove Lila. It was her mother's legacy, the lessons of kindness, of sharing even when there was nothing left. She holds on to her mother's words, Elrix murmured. That's her anchor. The ship's empathy module began recalibrating itself, its lights softening as if it, too, understood. But something else emerged on the screen. A figure had been watching Lila from the shadows, an older woman, wrapped in layers of tattered clothing, her eyes filled with sorrow. She stepped forward hesitantly, placing a hand on Lila's shoulder. I saw what happened, the woman said softly. You're brave, child. Braver than most. Lila wiped her tears, sniffling. It doesn't matter. They took everything. The woman smiled faintly. Not everything. You still have your heart. That's worth more than anything they could steal. Elrix watched as the woman pulled out a piece of stale bread from her coat pocket, breaking it in half and handing one piece to Lila. Here. It's not much, but it's something. Lila hesitated, then took it with trembling hands. Thank you. The empathy module glowed warmly, detecting a surge of oxytocin and dopamine, not from the bread, but from the act of connection. Elrix spoke, his voice filled with awe. They pass kindness like a torch, even in their darkest moments. Nyla nodded, wiping a tear. It's beautiful. And tragic. Elrix's mind raced. What if that's the key? Not their technology, not their survival instincts, but this. Their capacity to pass on light, even when surrounded by darkness. The ship's core pulsed in agreement. The mission had been to judge humanity's worth, but now, Elrix saw it differently. It wasn't about worthiness. It was about understanding. Commander, Nyla said, her voice steady now, if we're to finish this mission, we need to go deeper. Into more of their past, their connections. To truly understand their heart. Elrix nodded. Agreed. But this time, not as observers from above. He turned to the ship's console, inputting new coordinates. We're going down. Nyla's eyes widened. To Earth? Elrix smiled faintly. To Lila. The ship's engines hummed softly, preparing for descent. The closer you get to the ground, the heavier the truth feels. The ship's engines thrummed with a low, steady hum as Commander Elrix initiated the descent protocol. The cloaking field would keep them hidden from human technology, but stepping foot on Earth, especially for an Empyrean, was a decision that bore great risk. Yet, as Elrix gazed at the screen, watching Lila share a meager piece of bread with a stranger, he knew there was no turning back. Nyla hovered near the console, her normally calm demeanor now tinged with worry. Commander, we've never physically entered a subject's environment before. Observation has always been from a distance. Elrix adjusted the ship's navigation. Distance isn't enough anymore. We can't understand them fully by watching. We need to feel it. Smell the air they breathe. Walk where they walk. Nyla hesitated before nodding. I'll prepare the adaptive suits. The ship hovered silently above the city as Elrix moved to his quarters. The walls shimmered with images from his past missions, planets that had crumbled under their own greed, species that failed the empathy trials, entire civilizations deemed unworthy. This mission had felt like any other, until now. Minutes later, Elrix and Nyla stood in the docking bay, clad in form-fitting adaptive suits that allowed them to blend with human physiology. Their Empyrean forms were now disguised as humans, though their eyes still glowed faintly, a soft iridescence that only someone truly observant would notice. "Ready?" Elrix asked, adjusting his visor. Nyla took a breath, her gaze lingering on the cityscape below. "As I'll ever be." With a soft hum, the docking bay doors opened, revealing the decaying rooftops and shadowed alleys beneath them. They leaped. The fall was weightless, controlled by gravitational dampeners in their suits. They landed softly in a deserted alleyway, the scent of rain-soaked concrete filling their senses. For the first time, Elrix felt Earth, not through screens or data streams, but through touch and smell. The weight of the air, the faint hum of distant traffic, the lingering scent of burnt oil and decay, it was all real. Nyla knelt, running her hand over a puddle reflecting the gray sky. "It's heavier here, like the air carries the weight of their struggles." Elrix nodded, his focus sharp. Lila was last seen near here. They moved silently through narrow streets, stepping over broken glass and discarded belongings. The city felt hollow, like it had once been alive but had since forgotten how to breathe. Voices echoed from a nearby alley. Elrix raised his hand, signaling Nyla to follow. They crept forward, peering around a corner. Lila sat on a broken crate, cradling her injured dog. Her eyes were puffy from tears, but her hands worked carefully, wrapping a makeshift bandage around the dog's leg. The older woman who had given her bread sat beside her, humming a soft, haunting melody. "Are we sure about this?" Nyla whispered. Elrix hesitated. What was the protocol for this? There wasn't one. "We approach, carefully," he replied. But before they could move, a sudden noise echoed down the alley, a low growl. From the shadows, a pack of stray dogs emerged, driven by hunger and desperation. Lila's dog barked weakly, but couldn't stand. "Not good," Nyla whispered, her hand instinctively moving toward her suit's defense mechanism. Elrix stepped forward, dropping his cloaking field. He moved fast, too fast for human eyes. In a blink, he was between Lila and the approaching dogs, his hand extended. The stray dogs skidded to a stop, confused by the sudden appearance. Elrix knelt, reaching into his suit and producing a small ration bar, nutrient-rich, capable of sustaining a large being for days. He broke it into pieces and gently laid them on the ground. The strays hesitated, sniffing the air before cautiously approaching the food. Lila's wide eyes locked onto Elrix. Who are you?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Elrix turned, now fully visible to her. His adapted human form was tall, lean, with soft features and glowing blue eyes that flickered with something, warmth? Curiosity? "I'm a traveler," he replied carefully. "I saw you needed help." Lila's dog whimpered, and she clutched it tighter. "People don't just help around here. Not without wanting something." Elrix's chest tightened. She was right, on Earth, trust was a fragile thing. "I don't want anything," he said softly. "I saw what you did earlier. Giving away food, even when you had almost nothing. That was brave." Lila hesitated, then muttered, "It wasn't brave. It was the right thing to do." Nyla appeared then, stepping out of the shadows, still cautious but visibly moved. The older woman beside Lila narrowed her eyes. "You're not from here, are you?" Elrix blinked. "What makes you say that?" The woman chuckled, a sound tinged with both humor and sadness. "Because no one around here looks at others with that kind of hope. Like you still believe in people." For a moment, silence hung between them. Then Lila spoke, her voice softer now. "You're different, but you helped. That counts." Elric's felt an emotion stir deep within, something beyond empathy. Connection. Nyla stepped closer, her voice filled with sincerity. Why do you still help people, even when you have nothing? Don't you ever feel angry? Bitter? Lila's gaze dropped to her injured dog, gently stroking its fur. Of course, I do. But my mom used to say, when you've lost everything, kindness is the only thing left that's truly yours. Elric's felt those words pierce him like a blade. Nyla's eyes softened. She was wise. Lila nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. I just wish it mattered. That someone out there saw it. Elric's crouched beside her, lowering his voice. Someone did. Lila looked at him, a mix of confusion and hope flickering in her eyes. Elric stood, exchanging a glance with Nyla. They had come here to observe. To judge. But now? Lila, Elric said gently, what if I told you, there's more watching over you than you think? She tilted her head, her young face marked with the weariness of someone far older. Like angels? Elric smiled faintly. Something like that. Nyla chimed in. And maybe, just maybe, they're learning from you. For the first time in what felt like forever, Lila smiled, a soft, fragile smile, but real. And in that moment, Elric knew. Humanity's worth wasn't in its survival, its technology, or even its strength. It was in the quiet acts of defiance against despair. In the small, unnoticed moments of kindness. Moments like this. But shadows still loomed. The mission wasn't over. If anything, it had just begun. True strength isn't measured by power or knowledge, but by the weight of compassion in the face of hopelessness. Elric sat on a cracked stone ledge, overlooking the dim city skyline as the sun dipped below the horizon. The encounter with Lila had stirred something within him, a feeling he hadn't experienced in centuries. It was more than empathy, it was connection. Nyla stood beside him, her adaptive suit flickering faintly as the cloaking mechanism recalibrated. You broke protocol, she said quietly, though there was no malice in her voice. I know, Elric replied, eyes fixed on the distant lights. But she deserved more than observation. She deserved hope. Nyla hesitated before sitting next to him. The High Council will see this as interference. You know the rules, observe, assess, and report. Direct involvement, it clouds judgment. Elric's jaw tightened. Maybe it should. A tense silence lingered between them. The Empyrean Code had always emphasized logic, detachment, and impartiality. Emotions were viewed as weaknesses that could corrupt the integrity of judgment. But tonight, Elric questioned it all. Do you think she knew? Nyla asked, her voice softer now. That we weren't human? Elric shook his head. No. But she felt it, the difference. Still, she trusted us. That's what matters. Nyla exhaled deeply, glancing down at the small device in her palm, a glowing orb pulsating with a soft blue light. It was the assessment core, designed to collect and analyze data from observation missions. But it had never processed something like this before, raw human interaction filled with emotion, compassion, and vulnerability. The core is almost full, Nyla murmured. It'll send the assessment to the High Council in 12 hours. Elric's stomach sank. 12 hours before humanity's fate would be decided. And he wasn't ready to let that happen. The next morning dawned cold and gray. The city streets buzzed with faint life, people hurrying past one another, heads down, lost in their own worlds. But amidst the noise and chaos, Elric's and Nyla's focus remained on one person, Lila. They found her in the same alley where they had first met, curled up next to her dog beneath a makeshift tarp. Her clothes were soaked from the night's rain, and her dog whimpered softly, its wound worsening. Elric's crouched beside her, the edges of his adaptive suit shimmering as it adjusted to the environment. "Lila," he said gently, shaking her shoulder. She stirred, eyes fluttering open. At first, panic flickered across her face, but then recognition settled in. "It's you." Nyla knelt on the other side, pulling out a small medical device from her suit. "Your dog needs help." Lila hesitated but then nodded. "Please, can you save him?" Without another word, Nyla activated the device. A soft blue light enveloped the dog's injured leg, the tissue knitting itself back together within moments. The dog whimpered, then barked happily, nuzzling into Lila's arms. Tears filled her eyes. "Thank you. I don't know how you." Elric's placed a hand on her shoulder. "There's something I need to ask you, Lila. Something important." She wiped her eyes, looking up at him. "What is it?" He paused, carefully choosing his words. "If you could change the world, if you had the power to fix everything, what would you do?" Lila blinked, caught off guard. I don't know. I'm just a kid. No one listens to me." "But pretend they did," Elric's pressed. "Pretend the world would hear your voice. What would you say?" Lila hugged her dog tighter, her brow furrowed. "I'd tell them to stop being so mean. To help each other. People walk past me all the time like I'm invisible. But sometimes, all someone needs is a little kindness. Even if it's just a smile." Elric's felt his chest tighten. Such simple words. Yet they carried a depth far beyond her years. "Would you still help others?" Nyla asked, "even if they never helped you back?" Lila hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Yeah. Because if I don't, who will?" Her answer lingered in the air, heavy and undeniable. Elric stood, his mind racing. "Lila," he said gently, "there's something you need to know. About us." But before he could continue, the assessment core in Nyla's hand emitted a sharp, high-pitched tone. The final phase had begun, the data was being transmitted. Nyla's eyes widened. "It's sending the judgment now. We're out of time." Elric's heart pounded. Humanity's fate would be sealed in moments, unless he stopped it. He turned to Lila, urgency in his voice. "Lila, I need your help. There's a way to stop this, but I can't do it alone." She looked up at him, fear and confusion in her eyes. "What do you mean?" "Stop what?" Elric's knelt in front of her, placing the core in her small hands. "This device, it's deciding the future of your world. Whether it's worth saving or not. But it doesn't understand what I saw in you, your kindness, your hope. I need you to show it." Her hands trembled as she held the glowing orb. "How?" "Focus on what makes this world beautiful. Think of every act of kindness you've seen, every good moment. Let it feel what you feel." Lila closed her eyes tightly, clutching the orb to her chest. Images raced through her mind, memories of her mother singing lullabies, strangers who had offered her food, the feeling of her dog licking her face when she was sad. The core began to pulse wildly, its blue light shifting into a radiant gold. But then, it flickered. Elric's breath caught. "It's not enough. The core doesn't understand, it needs more." When rules are built without compassion, breaking them becomes an act of mercy. A shimmering portal crackled open above the alleyway, illuminating the darkened city streets with blinding silver light. Elric's instinctively shielded Lila with his body as a powerful force rippled through the air. From within the portal, 3 towering figures emerged, ethereal and imposing, clad in flowing robes made of pure energy. Their faces were featureless, smooth surfaces that reflected the world around them like mirrors. These were the High Council, the ultimate arbiters of Empyrean law. Nyla's throat tightened. They came, in person. Elric stood tall, though his heart pounded. I knew they would. The central figure's voice echoed without moving its mirrored mouth, resonating deep in their minds. Elrix. Nyla. You have violated Primary Directive 7, NON interference. The consequences are final. Lila clung to Elrix's side, her eyes wide with fear. What's happening? Elrix crouched beside her, his voice steady despite the growing dread. Stay close to me. No matter what. The rightmost council member floated forward, energy swirling around it. You have corrupted the assessment core with emotion. This world's fate cannot be determined through impulse and sentiment. Elrix clenched his fists. Then maybe your system is broken. You only see data, numbers, and probabilities, but you never feel what these people go through. Emotion compromises objectivity, the council replied coldly. But Nyla stepped forward, her voice trembling but resolute. Then why send us? Why observe at all, if you never intended to understand humanity's heart? A ripple of energy spread across the council members. Was it hesitation? Lila, small and fragile, took a step forward, her hands balled into fists. You're like the people who walk past me every day, she said, her voice cracking. You look, but you don't see. For a moment, the alley was filled with an unbearable silence. Then, the core, still floating in the air, began to glow once more, pulsing softly in time with Lila's heartbeat. The leftmost council figure addressed her directly. You were the variable. An unforeseen factor. Elrix's breath caught. Could Lila be the key? The central figure's voice reverberated again. A final test. The fate of this world rests on the child's decision. Elrix stepped forward in protest. She's just a kid. This isn't fair. But Lila tugged at his sleeve, her eyes full of quiet determination. I can do it. The core descended, settling gently in her hands. Choose, the council commanded. Should this world be saved? Or erased? Lila's hands trembled. Her mind raced with images, the cruelty she had faced on the streets, the loneliness, the fear. But then, she remembered Elrix healing her dog, Nyla's kindness, and even the rare moments when strangers had shown her compassion. She looked up at the council. People here can be mean, but they can be good too. Sometimes they just forget. They need time to remember. The core pulsed brightly, its light enveloping the alley. But the council remained silent. Elrix's heart sank. Was it not enough? Then, the leftmost figure's voice rang out. A decision made through compassion. A rare choice. The central figure spoke again, this time softer, almost thoughtful. This world shall be spared. For now. Relief flooded Elrix. But the council wasn't finished. Elrix. Nyla. Your actions defied protocol. There must be consequences. Elrix squared his shoulders. Then punish me. I was the one who broke the rules. But Nyla stepped forward. No. We did this together. The council considered this before delivering their judgment. Your connection to the Empyrean collective is severed. You will remain on this world, as one of them. The words hit Elrix like a physical blow. No longer Empyrean. Stripped of his abilities, his connection to the collective consciousness severed forever. Nyla's eyes filled with tears, but she held her head high. We accept. The council's figures began to dissolve into light. This world's fate rests in its own hands now. Guard it well. And with that, they were gone.